So don't worry, I don't have a long-winded sermon today, just a couple of thoughts. First of all, I want to thank Pam and Jimmy for not just their wonderful words, but for the extraordinary leadership they bring to our congregation. These two individuals give so much of their time and talent, along with their treasure, and we are a better congregation because of the two of you. So when you go into the social hall, if you haven't already made a pledge, the pledge team will have a form that looks like this, which will, if you have made a pledge last year, it will contain the information about how much you pledged and give you suggested hope for levels of increase in your pledge. So please do stop by that table. There'll also be laptops if you prefer to fill that form out online. Carol and I are following Jimmy and Pam's lead, and we are increasing our pledge by 15% as well. Why? Pam and Jimmy answered that question so very well. Let me just share a couple of quick thoughts. First reason is love. Love is at the center of Unitarian Universalism. We talk about that almost every Sunday. And in this congregation, our mission, everything we're aiming toward, is to put love into action. And is it just me, or does the world need love maybe more than it ever has in my lifetime, in a world where fear is on the rise, and the only antidote to fear is love? When you make a commitment to this congregation, a financial commitment, Carol and I always see it that we are making an investment in love, an investment in love. And I have to say that investing in institutions like this congregation is more important, I think, than it's ever been. I mentioned the Yale scholar Timothy Snyder last week, and you heard Catherine mention the idea of anticipatory obedience and anticipatory resistance. And he's got that wonderful little book on tyranny. I don't know if any of you read that book? Read through it? Yeah, it's a wonderful little book. And chapter 1 is about anticipatory obedience and how destructive that is. Chapter 2 is about the attack on institutions, and that if you want to resist, you have to support institutions that you care about. And think about the world today. Think about the institutions that are under attack. Universities, science and research, freedom of the press, the media. In my view, that makes the role of liberal religious institutions like this one that much more important. So I'm asking you, I'm imploring you to make a financial commitment to this congregation so we can do our part. And I just want to mention that Pam and Jimmy both mentioned the budget and that we have a bold and ambitious budget. Let me just say this. In the justice and outreach parts of the budget, we have budgeted a 5-fold increase in that work. A 5-fold increase, 500% more than we budgeted last year. That's why we need you to raise your pledge. That's not all of the beauty and ambition in this budget. There's so much more. We know that in the world we live in, that love, that spirituality, that caring for one another is essential. So we've increased the budget for our young adult ministry, for family ministry, because we know families it's such a hard time for families this day and age. There's so much good, as Pam said, that we do here. And we can do so much more. But we need resources. We need financial resources. We, of course, need your time, and of course, we need your talent. But we do need treasure. And I just want to finish up by saying a word about that memorial service yesterday for Satyendra Huja. And Mr. Huja was a part of this community, this congregation, for many, many years. Yesterday in one of the eulogies, one of his sons talked about that his dad once told him that when he left India and came to this country in 1960, that he felt that that would be the last time in his life that he would feel belonging, that he would now be different. He would be an other, if you will. That was very both sad and very, very moving because as we learned yesterday, and as many of you know, Mr. Huja dedicated much of his life to making difference feel like what human beings have in common, that it's our differences that are our common humanity. And I have to say that the fact that Mr. Huja came to this congregation, and I think must have felt belonging here because he was around for many, 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 many years. I think that speaks volumes about what UUCville and Unitarian Universalism has to offer a world where belonging is, I'm sorry to say, not very welcome these days. We have to be a beacon of welcome, of belonging, and love. And we are asking you to share your resources with us. Be part of this journey. We can do so much good together. Amen, and blessed be.